Yeah. Okay. So yesterday, we started checking on the Spring JDBC related concepts. Okay. So how to execute the queries, using Spring JDBC, and we learned about H2 database. Okay. So which is, in-memory database. So for that, actually, whenever the application starts, okay. So we wanted to Yeah, for that, actually what we are trying to do, we wanted to insert some data, into the application, right? So how do we insert that data? Spring provided, a class called command line runner. Okay. So what this runs, actually, this command line runner, will be able to Okay, this command line runner will be able to, load these things, okay? Whatever the method that we are seeing it here, the run method, and whatever it has in the code, okay? So all these things will be executed, on the server startup, okay? So that's why we are utilizing command line, runner in this application. Okay, so why we are utilizing, because we were using h2 database, and this h2 is a memory type database, right? We wanted to insert the data before performing some operations on it, right? So what we are trying to do, we are just utilizing this command line runner, to insert and to perform all the database related operations. Okay, so basically, whenever you wanted to do some changes in the database, okay, so what we do, we require data, right? If you are writing couple of methods to retrieve some okay, one second. Yeah, so if you are writing, if you wanted to retrieve some data from database, okay, it requires some data, right? So, in our case, actually, we were utilizing M2 database, sorry, H2 database. So that is the reason we don't have data. So for inserting the data, I'm just utilizing this command line runner. Hope you understood this. Okay, so when I start the application, so what will the class, which class will run first? This is the class command line runner will be running first, and it will insert the data, whatever it is there in the here, this one. So insert code, course ID, name, author. So we were trying to insert this one, right? So I'll just add this one second. Okay, I'm just adding this one second. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we were trying to insert this particular record, okay, whenever the server startup. Okay, so let me go back here. So yesterday, why it was not inserting, because we have written the code properly, but we did not say Spring to load this class. Okay, so to make sure that Spring load this class, what we do, we will make this as component. Okay, yeah, so let's see now whether if it is going to add. Okay, that record into database or not. Okay, okay, so it started. Let me go there to the local. database. Localhost. Yeah, so in the course, if I run it, yeah, so see, it inserted the record. Okay, so that means, whatever the command line runner we are trying to use it, actually it is working fine. Okay, so let me go back and perform more operations on there. Okay, using, okay, we were doing only the insert right now, correct? So you know, let's do delete. Okay, so for delete, what we need to do, we just need to add one more extra method. ID and date, and let's write some delete query. Okay, yeah, I already have this. Okay, one second. Yeah, just copying this one. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so if you want to delete that, just need to use this. Okay, so JDBC update. So let's see, so it is going to add this record and also it is going to delete it. Okay, so just add this one more extra method, repo dot delete. I'm just running this again. Okay, so that means, it will auto create that and it will delete it. Okay, so run Java application. So this time, if we go back and check in the H2 database, we won't be having any records because it is creating that and it is going to delete it. Yeah, it started, and let's go and just refresh it. Okay, and if I check here, Yeah, see, it's nothing. Okay, so it updated, it inserted the data and it deleted because we were using both methods. Okay, one is insert and one is delete. Okay, so let's do one more thing now. Okay, so if we look at these queries, okay, so these queries are looking like if you only one record that you are trying to enter, okay, and if you want to enter another record, you have to write one more insert query with the data, right? So if you want multiple records that to be entered, okay, so how do we do that? Yeah, we can utilize a concept called placeholders. Okay, so what do we do with placeholders? you know Instead of writing these hard-coded values, we utilize placeholders, question marks. Okay, and basically these things, we I wanted to what I wanted to do it. Okay, so I wanted to create a object which contains all these values. Okay, I wanted to create a class, actually course class, so which is having internally all these things, so that I can pass the course object directly to this particular insert query. Okay, so how do we do that? Yeah, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna comment this, just writing basic query. One second. Okay, so just writing some comment over here. Basic JDBC query execution. Okay, so these things will be used. Okay, okay, so now what we are trying to do, we are going to utilize uh, the placeholders. Okay, with bean. Okay, okay, so for this, I already told, like, we need a bean class to be created. So, what do we call the bean class? The bean class name is course. Okay, so in the course, I already created, like, the bean class. Okay, so which is having like private, three variables. One is ID, name, and author. Okay, so I have implemented the parameterized constructor and also a default constructor, and also toString. Okay, to just whenever we require, we can print this toString in our application. Okay, so and you see the getters and setters methods. Okay, so let's go back into the command line runner. No, the JDBC repository. Yeah, where is that? Okay, now what we'll do, we'll change the query for everything, right? So if you see here, I'm just changing it for both insert and delete. So what are the values that we have? We need to pass three values, right? So that means, you know, uh, we have to utilize the same methods. Okay, we'll utilize the same, sorry, one second. Yeah, so Okay, so we utilize the same method, but what we need to do, we need to pass some values over here, right? So for this, what we are trying to do, we are trying to get some course object, okay, which is containing all the values. Okay, let me input it. And after this, what you need to do, there are three parameters that we need to pass it to the insert query. So when you say three parameters, what was that? ID, name, and author, right? So what I'm gonna do, course dot id, get id, comma, course dot get name, comma, course dot get author. Okay, so that's it. So what it is going to do, it is going to insert that value, okay, whatever we are passing it through course object. So for delete also, what we need to do, we just need to pass id. Okay, so why we are passing id? Because it requires an id to delete the record, right? So that id will be passed as a placeholder, you know to replace those question mark. So it looks like little simpler, right? We can pass some runtime values, whatever we required, using this hard coded instead of using this hard coded JDBC queries, right? So these things actually we can, now we'll go back to the command line runner. Yeah, and hopefully we are seeing these errors because, the same way, what we'll do, we'll, add some comment here, the same comment, whatever we have it in course JDBC repository, basic JDBC query calls. Okay. Okay. So yeah, now for placeholders. Okay. Okay. So now for placeholder, I'm just going to call this report.insert. Okay. And what we need to pass, the course object with values, right? So what I'm going to do, new course of 1 comma, for name, I'm just passing AWS, comma, some ABC Institute. Okay. And same way, if you wanted to insert multiple records, you just need to add this insert multiple times. Just change these values. Not yeah, and I'm just changing this EFG Institute. Okay. So all these things are utilizing, for the insert, right? So let's see, whether if it is going to run this project or not, right? Okay, 1 second. My double click is not working. Okay. it worked. Okay, so I'm just running it on the application. Let's see. Okay, it successfully started. That means, it should insert all the records in the JPA. Okay, sorry, in the database. So let's go ahead and just refresh it, connect, course, run. See, it inserted all the data, whatever we are passing it from there. Correct. So let's do one more operation, delete. Okay. So delete is also very simple. Just you need to add one more extra method called repo.delete, right? What was the ID that you wanted to pass? So you wanted to pass 4. Okay. I wanted to delete the repo fourth one. Okay. So it will insert these 4 and then it is going to delete this one. Okay, so let me run this. Okay, so it started, and okay, so sorry. Yeah, so if you see here, it is giving only 3 rows. That means the 4th row has been deleted. Okay, so so this is how we perform different type of operations in the using placeholders. So till now we were working only on insert and delete, right? So let's pull some data from database and we can display on the console. Okay, so how we do that? Actually, for that, we need to write one more extra method in the JDBC repository. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna. Okay. So what we do actually, we have to utilize the same value. 1 second. So I'm utilizing get by ID. Okay. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to use get by ID and just copy paste the query. Okay, and go back to there, select query, select star from. Okay, so this is how we are going to retrieve. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use select query, and okay, so this is not going to work actually. So what we need to do, okay, we need to add one more extra thing, to get the result set back, right? What was the result set? We are going to get, a course object, right? So how do we get that course object? Okay, so there is a method called, uh, you know, so there is a class called actually row mapper. Okay, so what this row mapper does, okay, it is going to, map the rows, whatever we are trying to retrieve from the database to a specific class. Okay, so that means whenever you wanted to retrieve some data, you can either directly display in the console, or you can pass all the data, whatever you retrieved, it can be added to a class. Okay, so in our case, actually, we were using course bean, okay, to handle all the database operations. Okay, so we are going to utilize that course object. Okay, sorry, we are going to utilize that course object, or course class, to map everything whatever we retrieved from the database. Okay, so let's see how we do that. Okay, just remove this, return JDBC template dot query. Which one? Query for, so query for list, query for object. Okay, we'll use query for object. Okay, uh, because we wanted to map it, right? Query for object. Okay, okay, still a query. And for this one, we were passing ID as the select, and also this is what we were talking about. Okay, the row mapper. Okay, so row mapper is going to help us in this way. Okay, so what it is going to do, yeah, so I'm just writing it here. So we have result set. Okay, what do we call result set, right? Whenever you retrieve some data from database. Okay, so what it does, actually it is going to retrieve some data. Okay, so in the form of result set, that you're going to get the response. Okay, so that result set, we wanted to have it in a bean format. So how do you map that result set into bean? Okay, we utilize row mapper. So each record of the database will be mapped to your class. Okay, so if you see here, the advantage of course.java. So the course.java, course is our database table name also, and which is always matching with all the data columns, ID, name, author. And if you go back and check in the database, it will be having same ID, name, and author. So that means for each row, it is going to uh, you know the row mapper, for each row it is going to create a new course object, and it will be returning back to us. Okay, so that's how we utilize the row mapper to assign each row as a course object. Okay, so what we are going to do here, new bean row, yeah, bean property row mapper. What was the class that we wanted to map? It is course dot class. Okay, so now what it does, whenever you pass some ID for this class, okay, so whenever you pass something to this one, okay, this is ID. So if you are passing 2 as a ID, then it is going to retrieve your the course object. Sorry, it is going to retrieve the result set from the using query, and that result set will be mapped to your course class with each and every record. Okay, so let's see how it works, and let me go back to the command line runner. Just stopping that. And so repo, okay, let me do system dot out dot println. Okay, select query output. Okay, repo dot get by id, and I'm just going to use 2. Okay, so let's see if it is working or not, and just running the application. Yeah, if you see here, so it pulled the data from the database, okay, which is id equals to 2, and it pulled all the name, author, and everything, right? So this is how it is pulling the database. And if you wanted to pull multiple data, you can just keep on going, keep on adding these things. Okay, simple. One more time, 3. Okay, yeah, that's it. Uh, yeah, so if you see here, done. So it is going to retrieve them. Okay, so this is how we do it with placeholders. Okay, so if you remember, like, we were trying to discuss about these things. This is our Spring JDBC uh, you know concept. And if we are going with Spring JPA, so what are the differences that we see, okay, when we have Spring JPA into coming to the picture? Okay, so yeah, what we are going to see mostly, okay, so the 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 code, that whatever we are writing, it is like, still now, till now we were utilizing the queries, even though we were having parameterized queries, but still we were utilizing these queries. We were still writing them on our own, okay, to perform all the database activities, right? So, let's see how Spring JPA is going to help us. Okay, so let me create a new class, okay, which we can get demo on GPA. Okay, new package. Yeah, I'm just separating because of the different logic. I'm just adding one more extra class, JPA, sorry, package. And under this, I'm going to create a similar kind of course JPA repository class course JDBC. Instead of JDBC, I'm just utilizing JPA repository. Finish. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So if you see here, it just created a new class, JPA repository. Okay. So now there are few changes that we need to do for the existing class. Okay. So what is the existing class, to, helping us, to retrieve whenever it is retrieving the data. So this bean class is holding that entire data, right? So that, course is the bean class, whichever we are utilizing in the project, okay, to map the data from database, and we are trying to display, or we are going to set the values also using course. Okay, so what Spring JPA says, okay, so you have to create an entity class. Okay, so this entity will be having the similar name of table, and if it is having multiple columns, so those columns also match with your class parameters, okay, or class variables, whatever you declared over here. Okay, so if it is not matching, actually it provides some other features. Okay, you can also map it utilizing it. Okay, so now what we are trying to do, we are going to change this course class with adding some annotations to it. Okay, the first annotation is @entity. Okay, so if you see here, there are okay, 1 second. Check other persistence, right? Yeah, okay. It should be check other persistence. Okay. 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. 1 second. Okay. So check other persistence. Okay. So I'm going to utilize this entity @entity. And if you have a name difference between, the table and your class, okay, so I think it provides some kind of name is equals to, you can just add whatever the name that you wanted to have, that table name. Let's say, if your table name is something course details, okay, and you have here the class name as course. Okay, so what we are telling, to Spring, saying that, okay, so this bean class is mapped to an entity which is named with course details. Okay, that's what we are saying. Okay, but for now, actually, we are following the same naming standards. So we don't require the name. Okay, we can directly utilize entity. Okay, so in the entity, now just treat this class as a table. Okay, so we have one ID, which is, we declared it as a primary key, right? That is ID. So to make it primary key, we just need to use one more extra annotations called ID. Check other persistence. Okay, what it says, specifies the primary key of an entity. Okay, so that's why we were utilizing ID as a, for long ID. We are utilizing this ID annotation to make sure it has a primary key as same as the course table in the database. Okay, so this is how we need to map the changes. Okay, map the bean with your database table using couple of annotations. So this will, you know directly connect to your database table. Okay, so whenever you wanted to retrieve something, you don't need to worry about the table names and all. You can play with these classes, whatever it which was declared as entities. Okay, so this is like, a database class. Okay, you can see it here in Java. Okay, like, it will be acting as a table for you. Okay, so let's see how this is going to work. Okay, okay, let me close this JDBC repository. 1 second. This one, yeah, I don't want this queries. Uh, okay, 1 second. Yeah, so so what we are going to do here, so as we so if you remember there, in the JDBC class, okay, we added the repository. So similarly, we have to do that, here, and for the JPA repository. Yeah, so because this is going to connect with the database, so we are making it as a repository. And here we will not use JDBC template actually. Okay, so we have to use entity manager. Okay, so this entity manager, you can see it is coming from Jakarta Persistence. Okay, so this is entity manager will help us, to connect with the database. Okay, and we can perform all the operations, whatever we wanted to do it on the DB table. Okay, so how we do that, just I'm just copy pasting, to because to make time little faster. 1 second. So okay, so what I've done. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Okay. So if you compare this class with the course JDBC repository, we almost removed all the queries. Okay, so we don't have any queries that in the JPA repository class, right? And we have different methods that is performing the operations whatever we required. One is insert and the another one is select by ID and delete by ID. Okay, so let me do these changes back, okay, to make sure our command line runner will work fine. Delete and get by ID. Okay, 1 second. Delete and get by ID. Okay, that's it. Yeah, okay. So what I'm trying to do now, so for the insert query, we need to pass the entire object of the values, whatever you have it in the course, and this entity manager dot merge. So merge is the method which is helping us to add or add the data into table. Okay, so you don't require to write any query and you don't require to perform anything other than this. Okay, only this single line is going to help you to insert data into the database. And similarly we are trying to retrieve the value. Okay, value from the table, right? So what we were searching it through an ID. Okay, so the long ID is passed by the caller, and we were just trying to do entity manager dot find course dot class and ID. So what it is doing, so it is performing a find operation, okay, on course table with an ID. So why we are saying, so we were saying, the find, we were passing class course, entity class and primary key. Okay, so find method is going to help us, to find something in the table. So, and this is going to take the primary key. So what is our primary key? ID is our primary key, so that it can search through the data utilizing that ID. Okay, and the last one, it is same, like we are going to perform the find operations first, whether that it is available or not, to delete, and entity manager will call remove method. Okay, to remove that class or to remove that object, like that row itself. Okay, so that is how it does. Okay, let's see how it is going to execute. Okay, so let me go back to the command line runner. Okay, before that I forgot something. Okay, so we were utilizing JDBC template in the older class, and we were trying to auto wire it. Okay, but for entity manager you can still use @auto wire. Okay, to handle, like to make this object, handled by Spring. But there is one more extra, like, a possible suggestion, a proper suggestion, I can say. So that is, we have to declare, we have to add uh, persist, yeah, persistent context. Okay, so this is, so instead of auto wire, okay, so there is a like, proper, uh, you know uh, if you want to utilize something related to entity management or entity manager, so instead of using auto wire, it is, recommendable to use persistence context. Okay, so that, it can, Spring can understand this is, related to entity manager, and it is going to create, and it is going to you know get those get those object ready for you, that entity manager will be ready for you, in the case of database side, like, whatever the dependencies it is required, Spring will be able to pull them, okay, utilizing this at the rate persistent context whenever we use this auto-wire, uh, you know auto-wire sorry, whenever we use this annotation. Okay, and for one more thing that we need to do, every time whenever we utilize this entity manager, okay, and Spring JPA, so it is recommendable that we need to use one more extra annotation, that is transactional. Okay, so that, Spring can maintain these things, right? Uh, you guys know these, whenever we performing something, okay, whenever we are performing something, some updates or some inserts or some deletes, on the table. So if that delete, or, the operations, the db operations, if it is getting failed, okay, so if it is failed, what we do, we have to roll back that, right? So to do those kind of things, actually, we have to use this annotation, okay, transactional annotation, mandatory whenever we are utilizing entity manager, so that Spring can handle those rollbacks and, everything without your knowledge. Okay, so it can take care of that. Okay, so let's see now how it is going to work. And in the command line listener, we need to do one change. What is that? Instead of auto wiring JDBC repository, you have to auto wire. What we need to auto wire? We need to auto wire the JPA repository. JPA. That's it. So all other things you don't require to do anything, because it is going to work as it is. I'm utilizing the same methods. Okay. So let's see now. Let's run this application. Yeah, it is just starting. Okay. So if you see here, it inserted the data, and then it deleted the 4, and also then it, got these two IDs back on, on the screen. So what we are using JPA repository instead of JDBC, but still everything works fine, right? So it is going to give you the output without any issues. Okay, so if you want to see how these things are performing, right? Like, how, it is able to fire a query, okay, in the application, right? Whenever it is going to, we were utilizing JPA, and also we were utilizing this entity manager to perform all the database operations. So if you want to see how entity manager is firing those queries, we just need to use this property. Okay, simple property, spring.jpa.show SQL is equals to true. So what this does, actually, whatever the queries that you are writing manually earlier, so, Spring is writing for you, and, that JPA is writing for you, okay, and executing them with the DB and getting your values, or it is inserting some values. So it is going to perform like that. Okay, so let's see how the queries are going to look. Okay, I'm just starting the application again. Yeah, if you see here, there are a lot of queries that it executed. So the first one is we can follow this. Okay, so there are 4 inserts. Okay, there are 4 inserts. We are trying to do it. Okay, so what these 4 inserts, what it is trying to do now, first hibernate, like the JPA. Yeah, so why it is coming as hibernate, I'll let you know later. Okay, but yeah, for now, just concentrate on Spring, sorry, the query. So JPA is trying to write a select query first, and it is trying to retrieve if we have any data existing with this one or not. Okay, so that's why it is trying to retrieve the data from ID, and if it is not found, it is inserting that data. Okay, insert into course. Okay, similarly, it performed 4 select queries, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it performed 4 insert queries, so that we have the data of 4 records into the table, right? Yeah, the next one, what it is doing, what we are doing, delete. Okay, so for delete also, we were passing a primary key, to verify whether this object is present in the application or not, right? So what it does, JPA again pulled, the data from table, whether we have a data for 4 or not. If it is there, it performed the delete operation, delete from course where ID equals to the value what we passed. And the last one, the select query. Okay, so what it does, it is the select query get by ID. It is simplifying the select query, and it is retrieving the data from database. Okay, so same thing for this one. So this is how, like, the JPA is providing more efficient way of writing or connecting DB and performing all these DB related operations. Okay, so we'll find out the more in we'll see more more efficient way tomorrow with using Spring Data JPA. And after that you'll understand what kind of code that we were able to write using Spring. Okay, to connect a DB and to perform all these operations. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, we'll connect tomorrow for the Spring Data JPA. And if you have any questions on these things, okay, about Spring Data and Spring JDBC, Spring JPA, whatever the concepts that we discussed right now, if you have any questions, let me know now. Okay. Okay. If you don't have any questions, okay, feel free to drop off. Okay. And we'll connect tomorrow. We'll try to discuss about Spring uh, Data JPA. Okay, so it is like very minimal code, and it is going to perform everything for you. Okay, uh, with couple of lines of code. Okay, so we'll see that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks all.